Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi, co-editor-in-chief of Retail Insider, taking care of retail business today with Craig Patterson, who is founder and publisher of Retail Insider. Thanks for joining us today, Craig.
Thank you for having me on, Mario.
Okay, we're going to talk about a lot of things about the publication, but from its history to its future. But we're going to start just an announcement today by Rethink Retail, basically adding yourself and myself to the top retail experts list, a global list for 2025. Tell me, I guess, your thoughts on that and the significance of having two people from the publication on that prestigious list.
No, it's terrific. I mean, I think we're also the only Canadian publication, like news publication, that's on the list as well. So that's quite prestigious. But yeah, having yourself and me on that list is tremendous. And it's not even the first time we've had that recognition. Like you got it last year. Dustin Foose, same thing. He was our editor-in-chief at the time and got the award. He got it again this year also. So congratulations to him. But it's quite significant because it's a recognition of the hard work that we put into Retail Insider over the years, making it the top news publication of its kind in Canada for the retail industry.
Okay, let's go back into the past and tell me, Craig, how did this all start and when?
It started in about April of 2012. I started a blog, which I'd chosen the name Retail Insider, and it wasn't honestly really meant to be anything that was going to be a business or even I didn't fully have a focus on the Canadian retail industry. So probably in around 2014, it really morphed into being a news publication for the Canadian retail industry, and it's just snowballed from there. So, and we'll continue to do that moving forward too.
So tell me the reasons, like why did you decide to start a blog on the retail sector?
Well, it was something I was interested in since I was even a kid, traveling around, even playing hockey and getting to see some really interesting retail in Canada and the United States. At one time, we had these really great department stores in cities around North America, and I found that quite fascinating. And so I just I was working with low-income litigants in the courts. I was a lawyer, and I was also working with at-risk and homeless youth at Covenant House and in Vancouver, and I started a blog about the retail industry basically, or just what I was interested in because it was just an outlet to express myself, I guess, is what it was. But it became something obviously much bigger than that.
Tell me what fascinates you about the retail industry.
I think I mean, there's so many things, but it really what fascinates me is how, there's an art to the commerce, whether or not it's in a store or online. But you've got basically, physical spaces where you're bringing people in and having them consume something or even just have an experience. Same thing with online. It's a consumer experience. It's part of our economy. And I was always, I think, drawn originally to kind of the glamour that I'd seen when I was younger. I grew up in a small town in Alberta, and I sort of aspired to live in the big city, and I think that retail was certainly part of that glamour as a kid that we'd see, especially growing up in my formative years in the 80s. I mean, retail was a really big thing to talk about back then, and it still is, but it isn't quite what it was back then. I mean, things have certainly changed over the years, so I think it's been really fascinating for me to see where things will have been and gone. I mean, I find retail history to be quite interesting because I think in some respects, some of the history that I've seen has been a little more fascinating than what we see now. It's things have changed and retail is still, I think, very, very interesting in its own way, but it's become very digital and we don't have the same, in many ways, physical experiences that we may have had in, decades and decades past in retail.
Yeah. So over the past decade or so, Craig, what do you think, and from your experiences, what do you think have been the biggest changes you've seen in the industry?
Um, we've seen a real slowdown, I think, in construction of such things as shopping centers. We saw, I mean, I started Retail Insider over a decade ago, and we were reporting on especially the outlet malls that were coming in. I think we went from 0 to 10 or something like that over a time period of about 3 to 4 years. And years ago, we saw a lot of ambition from retailers such as, Target that was coming into Canada. Then we saw Nordstrom and we saw Saks Fifth Avenue, and that those were exciting times. But Target and Nordstrom have left, and I don't think Saks is going to be in Canada for much longer. I'm assuming they'll be announcing an exit in some point in early 2025. So. And this is just more of a guess, but nevertheless, I mean, things have definitely changed. I just finished an analysis of the top of the international retailers that entered Canada in 2024. It was a low number. It was a record low, tying with 2020, which was a pandemic. So things have slowed down a little bit, but things are challenged. We've got, high interest rates, increased cost inflation, and consumers that are struggling, and all that together, I think, is making retail a bit tough. But I think that there's always going to be innovation. The future is going to be interesting, and Lord knows what's going to happen because we also see a lot of experiential concepts coming into play. And I think that we're going to see retail merging into that to a degree, if retail wants to remain competitive, at least.
Now you mentioned about shopping centers. How have they evolved over the years? And can you believe when remember as a little kid going to a shopping center type thing and what it was like, and now going there now and it's completely different, right?
It is, it is. I mean, a lot of the shopping centers now, they're quite innovative, but they're also a bit generic. I don't know if you remember the old shopping malls where maybe there was a lot of brick and they had a lot of, waterfalls, and you had trees and you had like fountains and, waterfalls. It was really interesting. Apparently, it's really hard to deal with humidity when you have that in your mall. And that's why a lot of these like Sherway Gardens and Kingsway Garden Mall in Edmonton, a lot of these malls no longer have these gardens, probably none of them. But the shopping mall over the years, I mean, certainly, we have seen them change. I mean, a lot of them have the same stores, not always, but very often they're the same. We've seen a real polarization of shopping centers where the best shopping centers have just continued to get more popular and better, and that's partly been because the landlords have invested in them. So that's primarily, Cadillac Fairview and Oxford properties, Ivanhoe, Cambridge to a degree, and a few others. And shopping centers, I mean, we've seen. I think one of the biggest changes most recently here would be the new breed of shopping centers. We're not going to see a lot of these happening in Canada, but Royal Mountain, Montreal, I think, is a very interesting one. A very beautiful project, bringing in elements of some of the top retail from around the world. It's the only one of its kind really in Canada right now. But later on this year, Oak Ridge Park will be reopened in Vancouver, the former Oak Ridge Center, and that'll be another very, very innovative project as well. So these will be kind of the future of shopping centers. But I don't think we're going to be seeing a lot of shopping center construction in Canada after this, just given the cost of construction, given the economy, given our land uses. There won't be a lot of opportunity in the future for this, I don't think, at least not for the foreseeable future.
Okay, let's get back to Retail Insider. Tell people out there, I guess, the reach. Maybe throw out some numbers to let people know like how popular the publication has become.
Oh goodness, I'd have to check some of the numbers, but we get about 800,000 people monthly visiting the website. Um, Actually, Mario, we're frozen here. I just hope that my
No,
internet is
okay, we're good there. Yeah.
So the website, yeah, is about 80, we get about 800,000, I think, people visit the website monthly. So it's quite a high number. We've got certainly a good social media following as well. We've got 50 something thousand people following us on LinkedIn now. It might be 52 or 53,000. I'd have to go check. But we've got a robust social media following. We've got a mailing list that we send the news out daily to our loyal subscribers, and a website which is quite robust in terms of its readership, and a magazine on top of that, of course, Retail Insider, the magazine, which has all kinds of readers and is a terrific publication by Sean Terry.
All right, super. Um, Craig, I know we have some technical issues there, but that's okay. People don't need to see me. That's like they see you. Tell me a little bit about, what's your message to retailers about getting into the publication?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, we like to report on retailers. I'm doing a lot more reporting myself now, so it's fun to connect with retailers and speak with them. So, whether, if you've got a story to tell, definitely come to us, whether or not it doesn't have to be this. I mean, some retailers are expanding, whether or not they're opening new locations or doing something interesting with an existing one. But even just if a brand has a story, I wrote an article recently. It's not going to come out, I think, until February because they want to wait, but on a 45th anniversary of a well-known women's fashion retailer in Toronto. And that's just, a milestone. So we'll definitely speak to retailers, tell a story, and I encourage them to reach out because I think this is the time for us to tell the story about Canadian retail, whether or not it's a retailer that's been around for a while or it's a new one that's just entering the country this month.
Okay. And tell me just a little bit about where we're headed. let people know what's in store for Retail Insider this year and into the future.
So what we can talk about currently is Retail Insider is going to continue to grow. I think we're perfecting the content here. We'll be expanding certainly more into discussing a bit of what's happening in the digital world. I know that we've had a very real estate focused bent, I guess, on our reporting. We still, of course, do a lot on digital, but we'll increase that. I think just given what we're seeing in the market. And talking about retail tech and other trends as well. So I think a bit of a content expansion with thought leadership, and we'll be looking at possibly even spinning off a publication in the e-commerce space. So we'll say stay tuned for that because the strategies haven't been fully developed yet. So a few, minor delays there, but nevertheless, I think 2025 is going to be a very interesting year for Retail Insider, and I'm sure for the retail industry as well.
Yeah, so lots of obviously it's lots of potential in the retail sector for a publication like Retail Insider, isn't there?
Absolutely. I think it's almost endless. I mean, you look at the number of retailers that are out there and the different types. I mean, the in theory, we should never have a shortage of anything to report on as long as, people come to us and are cooperative, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, exactly right. And when you look back, last thing I want to ask you, Craig, when you look back and when you started all this, as a blog, like, what are your thoughts now, like when you think back at the sort of the simple beginnings of this and what it's turned out to be?
I'm grateful. I mean, I didn't obviously plan for this. It completely changed my life. I think the trajectory of where I was going. I don't know if I necessarily knew where I was going before anyways. So,
Yeah,
it just seemed to be perfect. But yeah, I think that, Retail Insider definitely changed my life. I'm just grateful because I can tell or be part of and have a publication that can tell the stories of retail in Canada. I had the opportunity as a kid to read interesting articles and news stories about retail, and that's what got me interested in it and also educated me. And I've noticed that over the years, we've all noticed this, of course, that there's been less reporting in that area and less reporting, especially locally, generally. So
yeah.
I think Retail Insider certainly fulfills a need and a purpose to have reporting on what's happening in the retail industry in Canada, because I think without it, we wouldn't really have a centralized area to, or publication to discuss this. It'd be quite disjointed. I don't know, maybe someone else would start something as a publication, but I don't know. No one else has. So yeah, it's really interesting times. But I'm just grateful to be alive, honestly, at this point. I'm fighting a really nasty cold right now, so I apologize if I'm a bit loopy. I'll admit that on camera here because I'm wearing my glasses and I'm just exhausted. But there's a terrible cold going around, and we'll be putting this video out very soon after it's recorded, so I'll still be under the weather.
Well, take care, Craig, and it was great talking to you.
Thank you, Mario, and thank you for all of your amazing work here. It's you've been with us for since 2017. It's been a long time. I can't count on my fingers right now because my brain is too tired and my hands hurt. But yeah, it's a good number of years, 7 or 8, I think it's been.
Yeah, it's been a good run and more to come. That was Craig Patterson, who is founder and publisher of Retail Insider. I'm Mario Toneguzzi, co-editor in chief of Retail Insider. Thanks for joining us today.